Hey Wanderers. So, yesterday I went and seen the Odyssey, and then I went right to bed because that is a 3 hour movie and I was in the theater for a while. It wasn't the kind of movie where I felt like I was looking at my watch or like sitting there staring, hoping like, man, this scene is really dragging. It was a slow burn of a movie, but I genuinely think this is the kind of story that needs that kind of slow burn. I believe it's something to the effect of 24 books. I think that's correct. And it's been, full disclosure, it's been about a decade since I've read those books, which has only happened once in my life. Maybe it's overdue. Maybe I am overdue for a revisit with it. But no, this movie was really, really good. I was genuinely happy that I went out of my way to go see it. Went out of my way. No, I made a little day of it. I ended up with going, getting a nice meal, and deciding, you know what, I'm in the mood for a movie. And I've been waiting for this one since it was first announced. And I typically go into these movies very, very blind if possible. I don't know what's about to happen. I don't really know the major scenes because I feel like trailers give away way too much these days. And that's been my experience. They always like show, you already know, I'm already telling you stuff you know, but they show all the hype moments as they pan out, they happen, and like, boom, everything that you really could have been excited for is right there. So I can see how this movie might not be somebody's cup of tea because it is a slow burn of a movie. And I need to quit touching my face. Anywho, it is a slow burn of a movie. And if the only thing the trailers ended up showing you was like, boom, here's a Cyclops, boom, here's like this battle, here, boom, here's this army. I can see how somebody would go into this movie with the complete wrong expectations. This is a book, and it is a chronicle of an entire man's journey through life, essentially. Right off the rip, just because I'm going to be talking completely off the top of my dome about this, I want to warn you about spoilers. I'm not trying to spoil anything. This book and story is vastly older than I am, so just putting that out there. But the story structure is a very slow burn, and I was a little curious because I didn't know how they were going to end up doing this, if it was going to be just a non-stop flashback sequence, if it was going to be... I didn't know what I was expecting, because it's such a big story that, like, if they just started A to B to C, like, the whole entire journey, like, don't get me wrong, that would have been fine, but I'm sure that I can't remember the whole story, and that there must be parts that just completely got left out, and I'm sure somebody's probably offended and or happy about that, depending. But no, it chef's kiss, super, super good movie. I'm very happy I seen it. That the 3 hours flew, and everything about it kind of like played this certain role. uh if you pay attention, like, I feel like rewatching the movie almost would be worthy, just because, like, by the end of it you get the context of like all the hidden meaning in these things that people say throughout the movie. Odysseus has this constant like sorrow in his eyes, like deep, deep, deep regret, and you find out towards the end of the movie that that is because there's these stories of these sea people that just show up and wage war, and his people himself, and he says it throughout the movie, that what is it, zeus's zeus's law, where like you treat all people equally, or like you give peasants things because they could be a god in disguise. Like, it has this like willingness to just be kind to your fellow person. And how they won Troy is the Trojan horse. So they gave them a gift and then snuck out and killed every single person there. And that sequence is super, super good, super quiet. I love the soundtrack of this movie. The audio quality was so good. I mean, of course it was gonna be. But the quiet moments mattered just as much as the loud moments. And hearing like almost nothing, like a pin drop in the theater, as these people are like trying to gear up to start this huge battle where they're gonna take down Troy. And there's this one scene where Odysseus is just walking through while the war is happening, and one of the main things you can hear in the background is just screams, like screaming people, and I can't help but think that he's thinking like, this could easily happen to my own people. What we did here was completely wrong. This is like war crime territory to like set up this gift and then just come out and start attacking everybody. His soldiers are like pulling people out of their houses, civilians that have like no business being part of this war, and they're just like slitting their throats, beheading them, tearing down monuments. Like, he understands the atrocity that his people are committing as they're actively doing it, and it is, I don't know, that whole scene was beautiful to me. Like a long drawn out walk of this man who's just, what have I done? And seeing people just dying right in front of him, like him not being the one to actually kill people, he understands that he like green lit this whole situation, and people are like, he's a hero. This Odysseus, like he's the one that songs and stories are like wove about him nonstop throughout the story, and he just looks like he just regrets every single thing about it. And it seems like there's a point in the movie where his entire journey becomes him defying the gods and being like, I can't let these men die. I'm willing to take responsibility because, yes, they did terrible, horrible things. They killed, pillaged, burned, and destroyed an entire civilization, essentially. But that's my fault. I'm the one that was at the helm of that. I'm the one that greenlit the whole thing. I'm the one that came up with the plan of the Trojan horse. I let one of my men die on the outside of the Trojan horse, and I heard their last dying breath and felt their blood through into this horse. Like, everything about it was so good. And I don't recall the book ever hitting these same emotional themes. But like, how could it? There was no soundtrack to the back of a book type thing. And I'm not gonna remember everything, as I said previously. It's been a decade since I've read it, but that whole entire scene was like it was part of the climax of the movie. It was just like him realizing and just recollecting what he's done. From the beginning of the story, he understands that he's like going against the will of the gods. He's actively seeing his people die, and while they're at sea, he's trying to actively make choices that will save them all. Like, the gods tell him outright, they're like, if you've got two choices here. Either you go into a whirlpool and you all die, or they all die. I don't even recall if they imply that Odysseus would die from that. Or you can go through this channel, and only 6 of them will die, and everyone else will be saved. And he still is like, we're going to try the whirlpool, we're going to try and beat the whirlpool, because that's what we do. And I just can't be sacrificing people like that. I don't feel like I'm in a position where I can decide one life is more important than another anymore. And his men start defying him slowly, like they've lost trust in him because of the whole situation with the Cyclops, which the Cyclops was done pretty beautifully, I feel. The 2 or 3 quiet nights of them just being eaten, like their rations, just sitting in a cave, kind of trapped there and unable to do anything about it. They eventually break out. They blind the Cyclops by sticking a huge wooden log in its eye that they've like left in fire for an entire, I don't know, I don't even know if it was super long or not, but long story short, they stuck this log into fire and just let it become heated, stuck it in the Cyclops' eye and blinded it. And they're not wrong, people still did die. Like, there was no avoiding it. The giants, I was told the silver giants were all like very, very practical effects. I haven't looked into that, but if that is true, that is pretty dope. Anywho, so the whole entire story is just like him defying the gods and being like, no, my men are gonna live. All the way to the point where they end up on like the sun god's isle, and he straight up tells them like, there's gonna be cattle there, and we can't kill or eat any of them. We can't. If you do, you will all die. That is 100% promise. We will all die. And it's like a trap. Like, the gods have basically like forced his hand, put him in these positions where like his men are going to cave, and they all do. He wakes up in the middle of the night and he's just like, I can't believe this is happening right now. Wow. Oh, you're apologizing to me? That's unfortunate. I wanted you to live. You don't need to apologize to me. As a matter of fact, I don't know who you can apologize to, because the gods clearly ain't listening. They know what you did. I know what you did. We all know what you did. And I feel horrifying shame. And I think that's what separates him from the average man, is that these guys are all like, we're war heroes. We killed a bunch of people. We slaughtered innocents. We burned down the entire city. The fall of Troy happened. We're heroes. And he's like, I don't know if that is necessarily the case. We we didn't just kill warriors, we killed civilians. And seeing like actual shame, like this is probably my favorite Matt Damon role I've ever seen him in. Like I don't think I could picture another person playing Odysseus as well as he did. I was very, very happy with that. And the climax of the movie is like finally him showing up to deal with all the suitors. And I don't remember this whole like strumming the bow thing. I don't know if that was a thing that happened in the original, but my lord, it was a good choice to have it because like he uses it to be fair. He says over a couple times throughout the movie that um hunting is just like it's essentially just murder. Like you're stealthily sneaking up on something and killing it when it doesn't even have a chance to run or fight. So he usually like strums his bow, which makes a sound and gives something a chance, at least a chance to run. He alerts them before he takes it out, and I don't know. I really like that, and it played played out really well during the end and the final climax because he had like the showmanship thing where he's stringing up the bow because the rest of the suitors couldn't, and they're all laughing at him when he fails, and then he like flips it over, strings that thing up immediately, strums the bow, the whole entire room falls completely fucking silent. Chef's kiss. That was such a good moment. And then he shoots the bow, an arrow through all these clean axes. I'm not giving you the full story summary. I'm sorry. That's my apologies. It's not the most well structured thoughts, but just things I really appreciated here and there. Anywho, he shoots this arrow clean through all 12 of these axes, hits the mark, and the whole room is like dead silent. One guy looks over and he's like, "You're Odysseus," and an arrow flies clean into his throat. Oh, so good. The battles, everything that broke out from that point, this thundering like boom, boom, boom that just builds up in the background non-stop. I loved it. I loved every single moment of it. I've been waiting for this movie since I first heard it was finally being remade because I've said for like years and years that like it needed to. Modern day special effects would do this movie so much justice, and I feel like they did. And I feel like they really got the dark part of war correct, where like people are dying. People are dying. And yes, some people are fighting, and some people are warriors, and some people are soldiers, and some people are corrupt kings that are sitting behind people dying. Some people are playing politics. When he's even drafting people into his own army, he tried to make it a lottery because he was like, I don't want this, better just be random chance because it's gonna feel wrong. It feels like I'm playing God if I'm the one choosing. You're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die. Not that they're necessarily going to, but like, I love that. And like this one scene where he shows up as an old man that is in disguise and no one actually knows he's Odysseus, other than his dog. Dog stuff gets me emotional every single time. I don't think I'm alone in that. But just seeing it happen, the dog like just lets out this one last wag and an excited like little, I don't know if I'd call it a yelp. I don't know if I'd call it a bark, but just an excited, you could tell the dog was just happy, and then let out his last breath, and that did the heart good. It was just, I don't know, I need to wrap this up. We're closing in on 13 minutes at this moment in time. 14 minutes? Anywho, things I liked, everything I just listed. Things I didn't like, casting? That's a weird thing to say because in this situation, Matt Damon was perfect for Odysseus. I didn't mind Tom Holland. I like all these. It's just weird because this is not the kind of movie where I feel like you needed to just throw A-lister after A-lister after A-lister after A-lister. And they kind of did, which I mean, they had the budget to, sure. But I don't know. In some of these situations, it kind of pulled me completely out of the movie. There were some actors that felt perfect and like they were well selected for the roles, and they have history. They have history, and they're very good actors and like well-known A-listers for a reason. And then there's examples like Zendaya, which I don't necessarily dislike Zendaya, but I cannot stand when they cast somebody for a role that has, I don't know, essentially like 4 or 5 voice lines, and it could have just been somebody random. Like, I always think about Tom Holland as a specific example of this, but like, who was Tom Holland before Spider-Man? He was in The Impossibles. I don't even know the name of the movie off the top of my head, and this is just because I brought it that point up and somebody threw that at me, and I was like, oh, okay, well, what is that? And that kind of drove my point home even more so. I feel like you don't need to just keep throwing A-lister after A-lister, especially in a movie like this where like that could have been anybody. They had very few roles, and it didn't need to be. It just drew me out of the movie to be like, oh look, Zendaya. Like it didn't need to be a face that I recognized, and it probably would have been more helpful not to be. But then there's situations where Anne Hathaway, like she did amazing. I think she did a very very good job as the Queen of Ithaca. I'm assuming it's Ithaca. Lord, if I'm wrong on this at that, if I'm wrong about that this deep into the video, it's oh that's there. And Matt Damon, this is my favorite Matt Damon role I've ever seen him in. It's just that's like the only major takeaway that I have. I gotta wrap this up, so let's give it a numbered score. And this, I wanna start actually having like a real structure to these things in terms of like scoring. So we're gonna do point fives. We're gonna do point fives, like 0.5, 1, 1.5, so on and so forth. You get the point. I'm gonna be really bold here and just say, for me, this movie was a 9. I love this movie. I was really down for a slow burn. It felt like they took a book and turned it into a movie, and it felt like they really respected the theme of war. People die, good people die, bad people die, innocent people die, guilty people die. It's war. It is just it's an event that takes and takes and takes and doesn't stop taking. And Odysseus having like this constant sorrow and like understanding that his men that are like basking in the glory of doing this thing, he's like, maybe we really did something bad here. And you hear these stories throughout the entire movie. Like, I think a rewatch might actually give this movie a lot of points in my eyes, because hearing the stories that are also like bad and how scared people are of these people just showing up at sea and destroying a place, and Odysseus understanding that we did that. That's us. Anywho, I gotta wrap this up, so we're gonna hit stop record, and yeah, no, this is a 9 out of 10 for me. I love this movie. I will probably revisit it again, and maybe even soon. And it's 3 hours, maybe not soon. Have a great day, guys.